KFIZ News Time, 8:09. Welcome to this week's edition of Landscape Smart, brought to you by Rademann Stone and Landscape Company. 923-1450, 1-888-900-1450, the phone numbers in case you are antsy to dial and you don't remember. You can also get a hold of us at kfizstudio@gmail.com. If you're going to do that, do it early in the show, because when you send it and when we get it are a couple of different things. When I say we, I'm referring to the one, the only Ron Rademann. Good morning, sir.
Well, good morning.
Good to see you on a holiday weekend.
Yeah, well, it's a nice, sunny, perfect weather to get some
And
things
dry.
Get some things done.
And no wind.
Yeah.
Two things that we've been living with.
So, yeah, you could do a little, do some spraying today if you want to do some, spray some herbicides or get the jump on fruit trees, things like that. A great day for spraying, perfect temperatures, light breeze, nice conditions for that.
All weekend.
Yeah.
All weekend. So if you're not playing and you're not traveling and you're not brotting, work.
There we go.
And we could say good morning to Master Gardener Delores. Hello there.
Good morning.
Good to see you again.
Thank you.
And again, lines are open. 923-1450. You generate the show. Speaking of open, being a holiday weekend, are you?
Rademann's is open this holiday
Okay.
weekend. Usually not on 4th of July, typically, but this weekend is probably one of our busiest weeks, the past week, and busiest weekend. So we would definitely have to be open today.
Yeah, I was down there this week, and it was busy.
Yeah, you can definitely. Well, and this was a little bit of a tricky week too, because it rained a couple days.
That's why I went.
So-
I figured, good time to go.
Well, and it is a good time in that respect. You can, it's not as busy with people coming in for shredded dirt or really coming in to pick up products, but you could get the answers to your questions a little bit easier because there wasn't as much buying traffic. It was more of questioning traffic.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, like you said, you picked up some grass seed, Madison Park's grass seed at Rademann. So that's a good thing to do. You can do that in the rain. And then
Yes, and that's why I did it. And I also got a bag of the Shady Mix.
Did you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you got half trees and half sun in your yard.
Yeah, yeah. Good morning, you're on the air.
Yes, thank you. I have a big problem with my asparagus bed. It's all full of quack and creeping Jenny. What could I put on there?
Well, there isn't really anything you can do right now because anything that you would spray on it, you would also be affecting the asparagus.
Okay.
And so what you want to do is wait until about the middle of September. Just, you're going to have to bear through it, I guess, so to speak. And then in the middle of September, once the asparagus is going dormant, then you could spray. And you probably would want to spray both the chickweed killer that we have out at Rademann's and cleanup on it, because the cleanup will do a good job of getting rid of the quackgrass, and the chickweed killer will get rid of the creeping Charlie.
Okay, that sounds wonderful.
But there's nothing if you try spraying either one of any of that stuff on there right now, you would actually harm the asparagus plants, because both of those products work their way through the system, the vascular system of the plant. So if you're spraying it on the crabgrass, quackgrass, anything, or if you're spraying it on quackgrass, it would hurt the asparagus plants. Mm-hmm. And if you're spraying creeping Charlie on it, it would hurt the asparagus plants too. So you can't really do anything right now.
And then you couldn't eat the asparagus either. I would be very
Right, you wouldn't want
suspect of eating it after doing that.
Yeah, that's the other reason too. You wouldn't want to, spray that chemical on it and then eat the asparagus. Whereas in September, the asparagus is dormant, and then you could spray it and then cut off whatever asparagus is still there.
Some other things you could do is mulch it heavy, and that makes the weed roots come closer to the surface and make it easier to weed.
Yeah,
And
that's a good hint, Dolores. At this time of year,
right,
you could spread mulch on it, and that
Right.
would suppress a lot of those weeds.
right.
And the asparagus will grow right through that.
Right, it grows right through it just beautifully. And I have heavy clay, so I also added gypsum to the soil around there, which makes the asparagus come through easier and the weeds pull easier because it just melts in the rain. It looks like gravel, but when you water it, it just melts away into the soil and breaks up the soil, makes it much easier to weed.
How do you spell that, gypsum?
GYPSUM.
Oh,
And it
great.
comes in about a 40-pound bag, and with my red clay, I've gone through a lot of it. It really does a great job. I take care of the Veterans Memorial in Lamartine, and we just couldn't weed there. And I think I put 40 pounds on that bed. It's 28 feet long, and I was out there weeding yesterday, and I pulled out dandelions by the root that were almost a foot long.
Oh, my goodness.
Now, we
Okay,
don't
thank
actually have gypsum available out at Rademann's, so don't go to Rademann's looking for gypsum. And I'm not exactly sure where did you get yours from, Dolores? Do you remember it all?
I believe I got it at Fleet Farm.
Uh-huh.
Big box stores do carry it. And it is just a mineral, so it really doesn't do a lot of change in your soil.
Yeah, it won't
Okay.
change the pH.
No,
or
it doesn't
anything
change
like
the
that.
pH, but it's amazing what it does for weeding.
Okay, well, thank you very, very much.
Yeah, I don't know, and even a place, Stewart's might have gypsum,
Right.
or I'm not sure if.
Or Hensies or
I'm not sure if Hensey Floral would, or they might have it available in smaller quantities.
right. Yeah.
At the
Which
like
is
at a
really good
place like
for the
Bear-
people who live on a small lot.
Right, you've got a big yard,
I have a huge yard.
but for most people, you probably don't need to buy 40 pounds of it. But yeah, I think you could probably find it at the Berry Patch or at Hensey's or a place like that. Hounsel's Greenhouse would probably have it.
Okay, well, thank you very much. This will get me ready for next year anyhow.
All righty. Well, thanks for the call and have a good holiday weekend. Lines are open 923-1450, 1-888-900-1450. Email is up and running, kfizstudio@gmail.com. You mentioned chickweed killer, just a postscript. Is this a good time to apply it to the creepies in the lawn?
It's a perfect time right now. You want to be actually, and a day like today would be a perfect day too, because after this rain that we've had the last, earlier this week, your grass is growing, your weeds are growing,
Yeah, they certainly are.
your creeping Charlie and creeping Jenny and creeping Mary and Harry.
All the creeps.
They're all growing real good right now. So you'll get your best kill
Right.
if they're actively growing, because they're sucking it all in right now.
The one, the creepy one that I have has little purple flowers. Is that
Creeping
creepy?
Charlie.
That's Charlie.
They call that one Charlie. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All righty.
But
Time
yeah,
to get the chickweed spray out.
Yep. And so that's it would be a perfect time to do it. You're going to probably have to do 2 applications, because at this time of year it's pretty thick. So you'll spray it and that'll kill off about 85% of it, and then there's a few little pieces yet that are kind of hid underneath the
Oh, yeah.
the main plants that you're killing off. So you'll have to apply it a second time. And that's so if you can do it here in May, you can wait about 10 days and spray it again. So then you're into the first week of June yet. So it works out best if you do it right now. If you wait until the middle of June and do it, then it's hot and dry. You aren't going to get as good of a kill on it. So
Timing is everything again.
yep. Yeah.
All righty. Lines open for you, 923-1450. Give a shout if you have a question. And just a reminder, we only can take one call at a time. So if somebody's on the phone and you call in, just let her ring. We'll get to you. And you want to talk about the podcasts?
Yeah, well, we figured out our problem from last week. It was it wasn't the camera, it wasn't the phone. It was actually the Wi-Fi here at KFIZ was acting up a little bit. So
Or not acting, as the case may
not
be.
acting, yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, you can't watch last week's podcast on YouTube. You can actually still listen. It's available on KFIZ on demand from last week. And of course, we'll be Cody will get today's show up and going on.
If I do
YouTube.
everything right.
Right.
Good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, okay. Listen, I recently here bought one of these Wisconsin 55 tomato plants, but the whole thing is just covered with yellow flowers. Should those be picked?
I think you need to turn your radio down a little bit. We're getting some serious feedback there.
Did you hear that?
I didn't.
Dolores?
I
Wait a
didn't
minute.
quite hear what his problem is with having blossoms on his Wisconsin 55. I mean, that's what tomatoes do.
Are you thinking there's too many blossoms on it or not?
Oh, it's just loaded. Just loaded with the blossoms.
Well, that's great.
Absolutely. That's been a standard tomato, I think, since 1955. My mother grew those, and that's a long time ago.
It's not a 55 day; it's a 55 year.
Well, it might be both.
Uh-huh.
It is a smaller tomato, and so it does get ripe early, which is very nice.
You know, the plant is maybe 16 inches high or so.
Oh, it sounds
but
wonderful.
It's just covered with those yellow, where the tomato comes out.
Yeah, it sounds wonderful. Do you have them in the ground already?
Oh, yes, yes.
Okay.
Now all you need is some bees, right?
Yeah. Okay. I should just leave it alone, right?
Oh, sure. If you think it's too much, just pick some off.
Yeah, okay.
That way the strength will just go to the ones that are left.
Yeah. Okay, I got you then. Yeah, I got you.
Alrighty.
Okay, thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thank you. You do the same. Appreciate the call. I wish I had that problem.
Yeah, well, and sometimes you do get, better fruit, or in some cases you have to kind of thin out some of those blossoms just for the benefit of the plant too. If it has too many tomatoes, too many apples, too many pears, too much fruit, it could actually, damage the tree, or even like hydrangeas, if the flowers are too big or a lot of times it'll
Well, then you get too small a tomato if you have too many blossoms. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And it's the same like with apples. A lot of times you want to, thin your crop a little bit if you don't want. You'd rather have 100 nice size apples than 200 little scrawny ones. So it's so it might be the same case with him with his tomatoes. You might want to thin them out a little bit.
Alrighty. We don't have a call coming in right now. We don't have an email, so let us take a break.
Probably a perfect spot for that.
I thought so.
So, yeah, Rademann's open today until noon, Monday through Friday till 4:30. And stop on out. It's going to be busy today, so stop out early if you can, if you're able. We're just 3 miles south of Fond du Lac, and of course the easiest way is to work your way over to Highway 41, and then you can exit off at the first exit south of town, County B.
KFIZ News Time, 8:26. We are back. This is the Saturday edition of Landscape Smart, brought to you by Rademann Stone and Landscape Company. The holiday Saturday edition, I should have said. Holiday weekend, 923-1450, 1-888-900-1450. Questions via email, send them to kfizstudio@gmail.com.
Yes.
You're in agreement.
So, yeah, send us through, give us a call. In the meantime, we'll talk about, I've got a couple of dinner tickets, sandwich tickets available for a caller.
Of your choice.
Of my choice, yeah. If it's got to be a timely question. You can't call up and ask about Christmas cactuses. You're not going to win. But anyway, yeah, Walleye Weekend's coming up in just 2 weeks. So as everybody knows that listens, they know that I'm involved with the Lakeside Kiwanis. Now this is my 43rd year in Lakeside Kiwanis, so 43 years of working at Walleye Weekend.
And he's the only member that started at age 2.
Yeah. Well, and my kids actually helped out. They were a little older than 2, but not much when they were helping out at Walleye Weekend too. But yeah, Walleye Weekend coming up, and of course I'm involved with the big walleye fish fry. It's walleye fillets. It's not a fish sandwich, so to speak. It's a real walleye fillet, and we have our special recipe from way back. If everybody remembers Bruce Stumbris from the old Chef's Chateau, he kind of collaborated with Lyle Blamey, who was a member of our club, and they tweaked the Chef's Chateau fish fry a little bit to adapt better to walleye from what I'm sure they were using, cod or something like that. So anyway, they tweaked the recipe, and we've been using that same recipe. We have the original on the back of a cardboard box from when they hand scratched it and crossed off 3 to 2 and 4 to 3 as they were adjusting each ingredient.
So this is homemade.
So this is our own special recipe. So that's why, if you've never been to Walleye Weekend, or even if you have been to Walleye Weekend and haven't had the walleye, be sure to come over and give it a try. We have it available in dinners. You can sit down and have a dinner with potato salad, coleslaw, rye bread, or we have it available in a sandwich form too. So you can just walk up and we can grab you a sandwich.
The street walleye.
Or we have the fish and chips version too, where you just get a couple of walleye fillets with a handful of French fries, so that you can get your walleye any which way you like it. So anyway, I have a couple to give away. You got to stop out at Rademann's at some point in time between now and Walleye Weekend
To get the tickets.
To get the tickets, and so anyway, yeah, Walleye Weekend coming up in just a couple weeks. I'll be. I plan on being in the tent that serves the fish and chips. We have 2 tents, one that serves dinners and one that serves the fish and chips and the sandwiches. So I'll be in the bar area where the sandwiches and fish and chips are. So
now we know where to find you.
Well, 43 years ago, I was one of the younger, stronger members of our club, so they put me in that area because I could wrestle around those half barrels of beer. And so that's how I started out in that tent. Well, of course, once you're in, you can't escape. Once you're in an area, you're stuck there for life. So anyway, that's how we didn't even have walleye sandwiches back in the day. That was Chuck Westby's idea to have, throwing some names out there, that you have to be a 50, 60, 70, or 80, or 90, or 100 to remember all these people. But yeah, Chuck Westby said, we should be serving a sandwich. He says, some people don't like to always sit down. They want to just grab a sandwich and go, and they still could get the walleye that way. And
it's delicious.
Yeah,
it is good walleye.
There's always a lot of people that come up and say, I don't know, that's an awful lot for a fish sandwich. I go, well, it's not really a fish sandwich. It's a walleye fillet.
In a bun.
In a bun, yeah. So it's, and I've probably 100 times told people, if you don't think it's worth it, let me know and I'll give you your money back. Everybody, about 9 out of 90% of them just order a second one before they want their money back on the first one. So
that's how good it is.
So yeah,
I've always done the dinner. I've never done the sandwich or the fish and chips because the dinner is so good.
Yeah, well, we taste test the potato salad each year prior to it, and tweak that if we try it, and then a lot of times the vendors will bring in 6 or 7 or 8 different potato salads and 4 or 5 or 6 different coleslaws, and then we eat it
Tough job.
a month before the walleye weekend. Taste test it. So
You take volunteers for that? Sure.
yeah, well, and we picked out on the potato salad. It's like an egg based, and it's really it's got some hard boiled egg in it, and so that I
Protein. It's healthy.
I love the potato salad. So
You just eat the fish because it's there. You like
Right.
the potato salad.
right.
923-1450. Lines are open for you. If you got a question, now's a really good time to call because the lines are open for
Yes. Everybody must be out in the yard working here
you. Or
today.
out of town.
Yeah, that could be.
There was a
too.
lot of traffic.
Oh yeah.
There Thursday already. I know
As you're driving out of town, you can still tune to KFIZ right now.
for quite a distance. Yeah.
Sure.
And then just push the button and talk to your car, and the question will come through.
We got it all figured out here.
We got it figured out. Now just do it.
Now I'm getting hungry, though.
Yeah, aren't we all? Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. I was wondering if you can use Creeping Charlie on broadleaf weeds in a fairly newly seeded lawn.
Well, there are the creeping. Do you have Creeping Charlie, or do you have just mostly weeds in your?
Well, I have Creeping Charlie on part of the lawn, but on the newly one, I have taller weeds than the grass that might be coming up.
Uh-huh. Well, in this case, I think what I would probably do is mow it first, and that'll knock the weeds down to a little more manageable level. And I'd be a little bit reluctant to use the Creeping Charlie killer on a brand new lawn. That could, and it's designed for use on an established lawn, but a new one, it might be a little bit too potent. Whereas if you, like out at Rademann's, we have some other weed and dandelion killers that aren't quite as potent as the Creeping Charlie killer. So I think I would use that this year, and that'll kind of suppress the Creeping Charlie, but it won't kill it out completely. But if the Creeping Charlie is kind of new, kind of young, it might take care of some of the Creeping Charlie. So I think I would be more inclined to just use a dandelion killer, a weed killer, and like out at Rademann's, we have a Weed Beater Plus, Weed Beater Ultra, that's more of a broadleaf killer, and that would be safer on a brand new lawn. So, but I would mow it. Make sure you've mowed your grass at least once before you apply any herbicides to it.
So how soon can you start mowing on a? I mean, I have many spots that don't have any. The grass isn't coming up yet, but there are other areas that are really tall, and the weeds are really getting in there.
Well, I would, think about mowing at least those areas yet, today or tomorrow. It might be a little soft yet or a little wet yet. You might want to wait till Monday, But I would try to mow it this weekend and then even if some of the areas, the grass isn't quite up and growing, and that's not unusual because we had kind of we had that warm week, but that didn't really warm up the ground temperatures enough to really kick grass into or new grass to germinate. Let's just put it that way. So that'll kick in a little bit better here, like next weekend when we're back into the 70s. But when it's like this week, when we had a couple of cloudy, rainy days, and almost every day it was only in the low 60s every day. So it's not warming up enough for the ground temperatures to work their magic with grass seed yet.
Yeah.
So
the mud on under my lawnmower.
Yeah. So that's why, you might have to wait a couple days yet for this to dry out, because it's still pretty wet yet right now.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, thank you very much for the information.
All right.
No, that's a pretty good question. We're going to make you the winner here for the. Do you go to Walleye Weekend? Have you ever had the walleye?
Sometimes I do, yes.
Well, this would be a good year for you to go because you'll have a couple of walleye dinners to enjoy out there. So.
Oh, wonderful.
So we'll probably go into a break, Jerry, and
Yes,
then
we can do that.
And then you can get her information off the air.
So you stay on the line, okay?
I will do that. Thank
All righty.
you.
And guess what?
So
Here's the band.
The band is, well, this isn't our final song. This is just the. Anyway, as everyone knows by now, Rademann's is open on Saturdays until noon. And you can still get a delivery, I believe, if you give Rademann's a call here real quick. And that number is 920-922-7612, anytime before noon.
KFIZ News Time coming up on 8:40, and we are back. Landscape Smart, brought to you by Rademann Stone and Landscape Company. Lines are open, 923-1450, 1-888-900-1450. Computers ready for your emailed questions. That address, kfizstudio@gmail.com. And that the previous caller, the lady was saying, she was going to use Creeping Charlie, but the stuff that you're really talking about is that chickweed killer.
Right. Yeah, it's actually it's got a little bit of a fancy name, chickweed clover and oxalis killer.
Something like that.
Is
That's not the cleanup.
no.
Okay.
Cleanup will kill grass only.
Yeah, I picked up a spray of that too this week.
So you have to be
For
careful.
weeds.
You don't want to spray cleanup, on your lawn because it'll kill the grass. But the chickweed killer won't hurt your grass except if it's like brand new and trying to germinate first, like this stuff would be. And even after we talked to her a little bit longer, Kathy, maybe you want to even wait 2 or 3 weeks before you'd put that Weed Be Gone or weed beater on your new lawn, because that, as the grass is trying to germinate, yet you want to, it's best just to mow it probably until the grass you've mowed it 2 or 3 times, because some of that grass is behind the others. And so some of it is up and ready to mow this weekend already, but some of it's behind a little bit, and you want to be able to mow all of it first before you'd start applying
Let
an
it
herbicide.
develop some roots.
Yeah, it's got to get rooted in a little bit better. You could damage the new grass. So you want to mow it. I thought when she first said, well, if the whole area is up well and you're mowing it, then it would be okay. But in this case, I think she'd want to mow it a couple times and probably not apply that weed killer, the weed beater, until maybe right around, like, let's just say the next holiday, 4th of July. Mow it 2 or 3 times first before you.
And it should have a good rain first, so it's really wanting to grow.
Well, and this week, the timing was pretty good because
It is.
the rain was very beneficial. She got by a whole week here now without watering, which is pretty unusual. And come next week, then if she mows, let's just say on Monday, she might have to water again Monday or Tuesday. They got rain in, whatever a 50-50 chance is for the middle of next week. So that's, there's a chance of rain there too that would help her out. But grass, a newly seeded grass, newly seeded lawn areas, new grass areas, you have to water those like every other day for sure. And if we start getting into the 80s, then you're watering every day. If it's in the 60s, you can get by every other day. It stays so.
So when you're doing the spot seeding for empty areas, how deep do you have to go with the existing soil when you're loosening it up?
Oh, just like an inch or less.
Oh, you don't have to go very deep then.
No, just kind of scarify it.
Okay.
I would say ideally maybe a half inch or 3/4 of an inch.
So you're not talking inches like you're rototilling or anything.
No,
Okay.
nope. You want to just
Loosen it.
Loosen it.
Maybe a metal rake.
Yeah, I like to use a tine rake.
Right.
And just break it up and then throw your seed on it and then re-rake it one more time.
To kind of cover the
to
seed?
blend it in. Yeah,
Okay.
just mix that. You want to mix the seed into the top, half inch or the top 3/4 of an inch of soil.
Do you necessarily then have to cover it with hay or something, or will that mixing it in be sufficient?
Well, sometimes you don't really need to, because if you're kind of mowing your existing lawn, you're kind of getting a few grass clippings and things like that in there that'll kind of help you out.
Okay.
I wouldn't don't cake grass clippings on it. That wouldn't be good for it. But a light layer of grass clippings, like when you would just mow, that might be enough. There's
It would just be a light mulch on it.
right. It would just be a real light mulch. So so that would kind of benefit it. And so typically you don't really need to put a mulch, especially at this time of year. Now, you start getting into the middle of July, then you probably would want to put some straw on it or
Sun protection.
because the ground is hot, the sun is hot, and it cools the soil even a little bit, because if the soil is so hot, then
And you want to keep the moisture in with a little mulch.
so the mulch does two things. It moderates the soil temperature so that it doesn't go from hot, the sun shining on the black soil heats it up during the day, it cools it off at night, but so and the mulch just keeps the temperatures. Plants like even temperatures. Doesn't matter if it's hot or cold, but what they don't like is fluctuations where it's getting, and so you get the sun beating down on it. So that's where the mulch helps that way. And the double benefit is it holds the moisture. Same thing with the moisture level. You want consistent moisture, not too wet, not too dry, just right. So, and the mulch helps that.
Okay.
Too.
So depends. Everything's time dependent again. All righty. Good morning. You're on the air with us.
Good morning. I have a mystery question.
Well, we got two mystery solvers here.
Go on ahead.
Okay, they're the ones to talk to. Anyhow, we've had hollyhocks. We live on a farm. We've got them, I think 5 different places on the farm and the farmyard. Anyhow, this year, not one plant came up. They've always, I'm talking about decades, we've had the hollyhocks. This year, not one plant came up.
It didn't have enough cover for the winter. I'm sure that's quite part of it.
Oh, was that it? Okay.
Yeah.
We did get some snow, but that wasn't enough, huh?
No, I don't think so. And it was really quite dry this winter.
Yeah. What happened, you look, it's always easy to look back and figure out what you should have done. But last fall was real dry. We actually, last year was kind of the tale of two seasons. It was real wet early in the year, and we had an early spring. But then it was actually quite dry as we got into the end of August, September, October. And then, we just didn't get the snow cover. And so there was, we're seeing a lot of plants that were lost or damaged, and this is the first I've heard of hollyhocks not making it. That's one of the tougher, like you said, they're one of the toughest plants there are. It seems like you don't hear this story too often.
Well, I live on the family farm, and as a kid, the hollyhocks were just fine. But these winters we've had that get so warm and so dry, I can't get them to come back at all.
Okay.
And
So it's
and they're next to buildings, and that's the biggest thing. because it gets so hot next to the building and so dry in the winter. And so I lost them all.
Yeah. So it's not unusual. Okay.
No, it isn't. No, if you want them to live, you really have to have them in a more open area than next to buildings
No,
with the kind
some
of winters we've had.
Okay. Some of these were in the open. They were, yeah.
But it was
And
just too dry.
Yeah. I thought maybe I could understand one or two, but every place we had them.
That's sad.
Yeah. Okay,
Well,
I
give it a chance, though. Don't just work that up, because some of those areas, they might still be coming. It is a lot earlier than most people think. People have been putting tomatoes in the ground for the last 2 weeks, and not me. I'm not doing it yet. That ground likes to be warm, and maybe the hollyhocks need some heat yet before they come up.
Well, and I've been kind of, talking to a lot of people with the same concerns, not necessarily hollyhocks, but
Other things.
but other plants. And I says, I have a paperbark maple in my front yard sitting right by my driveway sidewalk. It still doesn't have leaves on.
Yeah.
So, there are some plants that, and every other maple has had leaves for a couple weeks already.
Right.
But the paperbark maple, like some other plants, just
Right.
they leaf out 3 days or a week later than some of the others.
I've heard
And-
people say that their butterfly bush is dead. Well, they usually don't even come up till the middle of June. The same with the hibiscus, the perennial hibiscus, and lavender can come up late. Sage usually comes up a little late. I was shocked to see my sage. It looked completely dead 2 weeks ago, and now the top is all leaves. But
Well,
a
and-
lot of things come up later.
Yeah, and I had even like some of the ornamental grasses I thought were froze out or died. Now just in the last couple days they've kind of popped.
Yeah.
And even I have twist and shout hydrangea at home, and of course the whole plant died back, but I'm getting some new shoots up from the root system.
Good.
So it froze out, but still didn't. The root systems were damaged, but not damaged completely. So it's coming back. So some of these, like the endless summer hydrangea family, twist and shout and bloomstruck, and there's quite a few different ones. You have to,
Right. Well, the stems
Live
got
with-
all dried out too.
yeah.
Maybe not the roots, but the stems.
Alrighty.
So
Okay, I'll keep an eye out for them.
Okay.
Yep,
Thanks
so
for the
don't give up on them.
Let us know.
Thanks for the call. We appreciate that. And we're going to take our final break. Was somebody trying to call in? Hopefully they call back.
All right, give us a shot back. So Rademann's open today. You can stop on out. We're just 3 miles south of Fond du Lac, and probably the easiest way is if you can get yourself over to Highway 41, just take that south out of Fond du Lac or north past Lemira, and the last exit before Fond du Lac from the south is County B.
KFIZ News Time 8:54. Final minutes of today's edition of Landscape Smart, brought to you by Rademann Stone and Landscape Company. Our caller is back. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Ron. It's Cindy.
Hi, Cindy.
I was in a flower bed at a client's house yesterday, hollyhock bed, and I think you know which one it was. I thought they were all dead. I looked, and there's just little seedlings coming up everywhere. So have him look closer and see if he sees them coming, but they are coming, and his are planted out in an open area also. And he had so many old ones there from the previous year, and those all look like they're not coming up, but there's a lot of new ones coming up. And I also, another observation I had a full landscape planting done last year. The client watered and did such a good job watering that not one perennial, which some of them were a little tricky, was lost, because I think that moisture was in the ground, and then when we had that, freezing cold temp without the snow cover, so many other people have lost. the coral bells and the
Mm-hmm.
and the coneflowers due to probably the lack of moisture, but I know that freezing temperature did a lot of damage. But just an observation, how important it is to water, I guess. But then
Well,
sometimes you just don't know.
Well, and that's a good, a great point, Cindy, because, last fall, these plants have to get ready for winter. And if you have to send them into winter in good health. If you send them into winter in poor health, then you're going to lose them. So, these are all, like you said, there you had, now, if you have your clients, homeowners that are taking good care of them, they'll have better results, obviously. And it's not always, like last year was tricky because it was, when I called people up in September and told them to water, they said, "You've got to be kidding. It's wet." I go, "Well, yeah, it was wet in April, May, June, and July, but now then all of a sudden it stops, and then you have 6 weeks of it missed a little bit, but it wouldn't soak in more than an inch or two. So the lawns looked green yet, but it wasn't really, it was dry down deep.
Yeah.
Now, Cindy, were those hollyhocks is that in town or out in the country?
Out by the lake on one of the beach roads.
So it would be a little behind there.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, exactly. I'm just amazed at how behind. And even when I was potting up annuals in pots Thursday, the soil was so cold from the overnight temperatures. So think about what the soil in the ground is like yet.
Yeah, that one warm week, we had a warm week. It was in the 80s 2 weeks ago, but that wasn't enough to change the soil temperatures, because now after the past week, it was in the 30s overnight last night. So, and then if it only gets up to 60 during the day. So.
And people who are planting their vegetables have to remember the coal crops like broccoli and cabbage, can take cooler soil, and the kale, but the tomatoes need closer to 70. They can handle 60, but it might stunt them a little bit. And the peppers need at least 65 to 75. The warmer the soil, the better they will take.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I'm never feeling too bad about getting my garden in late.
No.
Well, especially this year.
It always catches up.
Yeah. Well, last year was just such an, aberration.
Yeah.
It was so wet, you couldn't plant.
Well, and if you got
it
it
was
in
so
early,
warm,
but
too.
it was warm.
It was so warm.
Mm-hmm.
And this year it's cool.
But it started out warm last year and it stayed warm. So,
Yes. And not this year. And it's just interesting seeing how all the plant material reacts to each season. It's different every year.
All righty, Cindy. Well, thanks for the call. We're out of time.
Yeah, thanks for calling
Thank
in,
you.
Cindy. So, Cindy, longtime friend of all the gardeners in Fond du Lac. She takes care of a lot of fun people's yards. So, again, Rademann's open today till noon, Monday through Friday till 4:30. 3 miles south of Fond du Lac, east on County B, a quarter mile, right before the Kelly's Ice Cream, if you're on your way out there for ice cream later this morning. So,
Alrighty, our thanks to you for your questions. We appreciate it. Thanks to Delores, Master Gardener, and of course, always thanks to Ron Rademann for joining us.
Thanks for having us.